Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is a scene for Empire of Thrones, a scene for Changeling the Lost. Soren, our young darkling, met someone who intrigued him, someone who's finally started to give him a little bit of more clarity and direction in his search for a court who caught his attention. And he's giving that man a call this morning. So Dr. Morgan's phone will ring. It rings for a good minute, and then he picks up, and you hear him say in a hushed voice, but not overly hushed. Hello?
Um, hey, William, it's Soren from last night.
Ah, yes.
Um, hey, I'm sorry if this is a bad time or if I'm breaking any rules of etiquette, but I was wondering if you wanted to meet up somewhere so we can talk a bit more about your affiliations.
Hmm. Um, you hear him kind of put the phone away from his mouth for a second, and he'll say, you hear him say, yes, yes, yeah, start lactic fluids, yes. And he'll turn around and he'll say, um, are you familiar with New York City? Like, how
Um,
familiar are you with the city?
Not too much, but I got a map on my phone.
Okay. Just grab an Uber. Uh, uh, and he'll give you a number and like a account to put it on. He'll tell you to grab an Uber, and he'll tell you to tell them to take you to Mount Sinai Hospital, um, to go into the ER and ask the triage nurses for Dr. Morgan.
You got it. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll hang up.
And so he'll go ahead and do that. Um, Head on over to Mount Sinai, the Mount Sinai Hospital, and he will ask for Dr. Morgan if there's unless there's any kind of obstacles that meet his way.
No, there's no obstacles. The nurse behind the desk will smile at you, and she'll pick up the phone and call. Um, and she'll say, she'll tell you, go on back to the nurse's station, and
Um,
she'll put the door open for him.
Thank you. Walk
And
on through.
when he walks on through, when he gets back to the nurse's station, Will is holding a couple of charts, kind of looking over them, and he'll look up at your character. He's wearing ER scrubs. His name badge identifies him as the head of the ER department. He's wearing he's wearing like a dark gray colored scrubs, a charcoal gray almost. Sneakers. He's got a headscarf on, not like a like the kind that bikers wear almost. You know what I mean? Like doctors wear. Like the Todd. I hate to say it like that, but um, and he'll basically kind of look up at your character, and he'll say, "Try to keep up, okay? Stay
You
out of the
got it.
way."
Mm.
And he'll immediately turn around and he'll go into a room where there's a little girl who the front of her shirt is covered in blood, and she's basically sitting there, and she has the most dazed little look on her face. But moreover, her father is just a wreck. He's just, I'm sorry, doctor. She fell off of the cabinet or off of a stool, and she hit her chin on the cabinet. He's like hyperventilating. He's just so afraid. And Dr. Morgan will basically smile and kind of speak to him softly and say, no, it's okay. This happens. My daughter split her lip one time falling off of a bar stool trying to get some cookies. I know exactly what you're talking about. And he'll basically grab the little girl's face gently, look at it. She's a bleeder, but the wound isn't too deep, you'll notice. And all the while this father is absolutely terrified that this kid is like scarred for life, as fathers and mothers sometimes do, he just simply talks him through it. He just simply says, oh, it's just simple. A couple stitches will have her right on the way. Uh, I'll get my PA to take care of it. And he'll nod at him. He'll say, oh, thank you so much, doctor. Thank you. And he'll give the little girl a little lollipop out from his pocket. And he'll go to the next room. And in the next room is a girl who is hysterical. She had actually been standing by the door, like she kept coming up to the door and going back and like pacing the room. And when he comes into the room, she immediately begins to sob and shake her head and say, I'm dying. I know I'm dying this time. I know it. I know I am. I swear to God. And he's like, he'll stop and he'll say, you're not dying. I know it feels like you're dying. You're having a panic attack. And he basically starts talking to her about all of the different sensations she's having, why she's feeling them. At one point, she becomes so panicked that he basically has to, in a firm voice, but still excellent bedside manner, tell her, you need to sit down. I'm going to give you some medication to help you. A little bit of Ativan. Just a few milligrams. It'll take the edge off. You'll be able to rest. Did somebody drive you here? And she'll say, no, I took the subway, but I'm going to die. I swear to God, I'm going to die. And he'll take her hands very firmly and he'll say, you're not going to die today. I'm not going to let you die. It's okay. Just breathe in, breathe out. She'll in this fear, in this terror that she's feeling, you notice that he gets through to her. She starts to breathe. He tells her, breathe in the flowers, blow out the candles. He moves on to the next room. He stops for a moment and kind of looks over the sheets, shakes his head, and there's a man who's sitting on the edge of the bed, and I'll kind of look over the doctor and, say, geez, doc, sheesh, man, I'm in a lot of pain. Do you think you can give me a little something to just kind of cut the edge off? And shaking a little bit, and will just kind of take a deep breath. He'll say, I'm sorry, we don't prescribe narcotics here to people who aren't in a more serious condition than you. I can direct you to a pain management doctor or to a clinic, but the guy basically punches the bed and says, God damn it, I'm in pain, don't you hear me? And will basically kind of grit his teeth and nod, and he'll say, I'm sure you are, sir. I'm positive you are, but unfortunately, there's nothing I can do for you here. He has to walk away, knowing that man is an addict. There's nothing you can really do for him here.
Well,
There are a few other. Go on, say.
I was just gonna say the whole time that was happening, the second the man punched the bed, like immediately, like Soren just kind of looked to Will, and I assume I've seen Will's empathy dice, but it was pretty high. It was just like, if he flips out, I've got your back. He doesn't even say it. He just kind of looks and just nods his head once and just keeps looking.
He'll look at your character at one point. And every once in a while he'll speak to your character, kind of ask how he's doing, but he is going. He's going, he's working. At one point, alarms go up. You hear the nurses call a code blue. He immediately bolts, stops what he's doing. He puts a chart down and he immediately goes over to one of the trauma bays. Someone's flatlined. He takes a moment to compose himself. He breathes in deep. He begins working on resuscitation efforts. CPR. Eventually he has to break out the paddles. You see him putting shots into his arm. It's a young man. Not too much younger. Probably in his 30s, 40s. That range. You notice Will look at everything, look over everything. And then he stops. The young man, his eyes are fluttering, basically. And then he gets a look in his eyes. A look your character's seen before. It's too late. It's too far. He's dying. Will basically.
Yeah, Soren's probably put his share of people in that same position.
Basically, Will stops, looks down at him, looks him in the eyes, and just gets a very relaxed look on his face, almost as if he's telling him, it's okay, close your eyes, sleep. You'll be okay. And the man closes his eyes. Will calls it 11:30. He walks out of the room. As he's doing all of this, as he's taking care of people, as he's breaking as he's putting back together the broken, as he's helping those that are beyond help, as he's doing all of this, there's so much fear here in this place. Fear that they're not going to be taken seriously. Fear that they're going to die. Fear that they're hurt or injured. How are they going to explain this to their boss? How are they going to make it this one more day without this thing that they need? Why can't they see that they need this drug? All this fear, and he's just walking around in it. Eventually, he'll come to your character, kind of pulling the rag off of his head. He'll smile and he'll say, "You ready for lunch?"
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that I can use it. I'm going to flex shift today, so my lunch is going to last for 2 hours, and then I'm back on for a second shift. But you got me for my 2 hours.
You got it.
He'll go down to the cafeteria. He'll tell him to please get food. It's on his account. Find a spot. Wave at some doctors. Give them a hello, but they see he's with someone, so they respectfully keep their distance. And they'll sit down with you. They'll say, "I'm sorry if that was rough to watch."
It's no problem. It was normal, I guess. That sounds really terrible, but yeah. So rare that I just get to see people,
I actually understand.
Thank you, because I was not stringing those words together very well myself.
I spent a really long time in the hospital when I was a child. I had a sister. He swallows hard. I was one of a set of twins. Me and my sister Mary. One day, God, seriously, how somebody's life can change in one day, one moment. I was running after Mary in the woods. And then there was this woman, this beautiful woman. He shakes his head as though he can't even describe her beauty, so he's not even going to. Mary had run a little bit ahead of me. I was trying to keep up with her, but she was always faster than me. She had stumbled across the woman before I did. And the woman was like a being of fire and light. And she told Mary she wanted her to come and live with her. And she wanted her to be her daughter. And she said, "But what about my brother?" And she said, "I don't need a son. I just want a daughter." Mary yelled out for me, and she reached for me, but it's too late. It took her. When my parents asked me what had happened to her, I told them exactly what had happened. The beautiful woman made of radiant light took her from me. I spent the next several years in a mental hospital. I wouldn't tell them what actually happened to Mary, and honestly, the trauma of it was so intense, losing my sister like that, losing my twin, that he'll nod. Yeah. So, I know what it's like to be a patient. I know what it's like to live under a doctor, to live under their rules, the orders, the clinicalness of it all. And I know what it's like to fear never leaving these walls again. I was lucky. I realized that regardless of whether my sister was taken in the way she was or wasn't, they were never going to believe me. And so I stopped telling the story. They considered me cured and no longer delusional, and I was let go. And because I had nothing to focus on but school, when I was in the hospital, I graduated top of my class. I'm a cum laude. Went to medical school, breezed through that, joined Doctors Without Borders. I've made myself a rather illustrious medical career. And I'd give up every moment of it just to have not tagged behind, just to have not. I'll just take a bite of his food and shake his head.
I'm sorry. Truly,
In my dreams, she never left. We lived and grew beside each other. We walked the aisle, graduation together. I stood by her side at her wedding, her at mine. Our children laughed, cousins playing on the floor during holidays. She saw me through the troubles of my marriage. I saw her through the troubles of hers. We grew old together. But that's not real. It's my dreams. Mary's not here. I was left behind. Here. I said, if spiders are your greatest fear, I envy you.
I'll be honest, I did fib a little bit when I said it was spiders. I wasn't quite sure. Well, this is a new world, and where I come from, it was never a good idea to advertise things like that.
No nod. Where did you come before that?
Before all of that, I lived in LA. We something my parents had told me a few times. You see, the most children when they receive the talk, they learn about biology. My talk was about how to respond if a police officer ever pulled me over or stopped me for any reason. They told me this when I was about 6. And you always heard about it. He was resisting arrest. He was on drugs. he looked sketchy. And no one seemed to believe us. People just seemed to think that, oh, yeah, they're doing a fine job. It's just, these are isolated incidents.
Isolated. How many DOAs do you think I've tagged off with a cop over my shoulder telling me what to write?
Oh, way too many. I know that.
Well, none.
Since the day I understood what a police officer was, I was always terrified whenever they passed by, whenever they were in the same room. Because somehow, some way, something I did, if I reached for my wallet, if I looked the wrong way, if I stumbled, if I walked wrong, if I wore the wrong color, the cop wouldn't have a goddamn regret in putting two in my chest and leaving me on the ground. And he'd probably brag about it too. So yeah, I understand what it's like to live in fear, at least somewhat. Because the people that are supposed to protect us are the people that are hurting us.
He doesn't argue. All he does is nod. He doesn't even pull the old argument, well, not all of them are like that. He doesn't even say, well, it's just the bad ones. He just nods and looks at your character. Because the fact of the matter is, in his opinion, if the good ones would act out and divorce the ones who were bad, this wouldn't be so much of a problem.
Yeah.
Frankly, to him, the lot of them need to. Well, he's a polite man.
Yeah. Soren will just continue on to say, I understand that a lot of people like to think that the cops do well. And yes, fine, we all understand that there's some good cops out there, but we don't see them condemning the bad ones, and we don't see them trying to change things. We see them justifying and covering up. And I think if any good cop defends the guy that strangled a man to death on a New York sidewalk, then I don't think he's a good fucking cop at all. My life here and my life there I had spent just in terror. Now I'm back, and for the first time in my life, I feel like I can fucking do something about it. Something. If I can just stop one shooting or stop one person from being taken, then everything I have ever gone through will have been worth it.
The king of the summer court is in a very unique position in that the force needs to be held more accountable. They do. That is without question. His attention is split between his duties as the king and controlling a force that is rife with corruption, that he himself has to work in order to try his damnedest to correct a problem in. One of the major problems is in order to correct a problem, the problem needs to be identified. In order to identify the problem, he'll think about it for a moment, kind of weigh what he's trying to get at. In order to identify the problem, all parties have to admit accountability for the perceived slights. So the good cops have to admit that the corruption within their force is unacceptable. The bad cops need to admit that it's not the right career for them. And the bad cops need to stop being awarded. Quota was probably one of the worst things that ever happened. I had to stitch up a kid's head the other day. Bashed. He touches the point of his temple and then goes down like his cheekbone all the way to almost his lips. Split, bleeding from there to there. When I asked the arresting officer what he had been arrested for, do you know what he said the charge was?
But it was something like loitering.
Walking against the traffic. He jaywalked. And I had to put 60 stitches in this kid's head. Because on a crowded New York street, he couldn't hear a courtesy officer tell him to stop. Mind you, this was a New York street he jaywalked. I don't know anyone, police or otherwise, who follow the rules of the road. They're more like advisories or cautions. And yes, the young man was black. I've seen African American mothers come in here with their babies so malnourished that I realized that that child would never walk right. Social workers walk into a room with a white mother, a Hispanic mother. They need help. They need assistance. Black mother? Where's your baby daddy? Why can't you be a strong, surviving black woman? You wanted this child. You know what? I'm pro-life. I'm a doctor. I don't believe that abortion should be elective. I don't believe that a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy because of her poor choices. Because of medical necessity? Sure. I'll agree to that. But I don't believe that a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy because of poor choices. Do I support the fact that abortions are legally available? Yes, of course I do. Because women will have abortions regardless. I prefer a woman deal with it safely than me have to patch her back up together afterwards. But when you're pro-life from the moment of conception until someone is in the ground. And you don't look at a woman whose child is starving, literally, and tell her at that moment about her poor life choices. Well, you have a cross around your neck. It makes me sick. And I happen to watch it happen every day, in and out. You'd think it would burn somebody out. Not me. It fuels me. It pushes me harder, to work harder, to do harder. I have a 12-year-old daughter, Samantha. And she asked me the other day, she said, Dad, why do you work so much? And I'm there for her. I see her off to school in the morning. I'm a single father. I see her at home at night, cook dinner with her, make her healthy food. She kills me for it. She hates the way we eat. And I do it for her because I'm pro-life. And there's so many people in this world who are so fucking selfish. That's what I'm afraid of. I asked you what you were afraid of. That's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of pro-lifers. People who say they care about the fetus. And then when it's born, he'll wave his hand. Look, New York. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do believe there are some things that are getting better, though. I think we are making forward advances. I don't think we're leaving our children any world work necessary. I mean, for fuck's sake. Look at what's going on. Paris. And do you know what people are getting upset about? Not the fact that almost 200 people in Paris died, over 300 injured or dead. That's not what's got people upset. You know what has people upset? Whether people's Facebook profile picture is a little French flag or not. And how if it is, it means you don't care about the people in Beirut or Kenya or Lebanon. Well, if you really cared that much about the people in Kenya, then you'd know the school shooting slaughter that happened there happened in April. Did you care about it then? No, because you didn't care about it enough to know that it happened in April. I take a long, hard look at things, and I ask myself, where the fuck are we going? What are we? Is this it? Is this how we go? Is this the end? I don't know, man. I'm Catholic, but I don't want to fucking think this is it, because if it is, wow, this is not how I wanted Jesus to come back. You've been quiet. Am I testing him? Am I going off too much on you, man? I don't.
No, it's fine. It's nice to hear someone else's voice.
That guy I lost, the one on the table. Those are the hardest. He's a repeat cancer. Sometimes it takes you slow and you die peacefully in your bed, and then one day complication hits, massive system failure, and they're gone. I saw that kid in the hospital 4 days ago. He was looking okay. I mean, he was, we all knew it was terminal and he was going to go. But I wish we had, I wonder if he knew it was the end. I wonder if, we really never know when it's the end, when it's time, when it's come. Like that one girl in the room. She says, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. And I have to stare her in the face and say, no, you're not. I'm not going to let you die. But what if?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'll tell you, somebody that throws a panic attack, not going to die. Not unless they had an underlying condition we would have fucking caught already, Sometimes you can have a hole in your heart, or their blood pressure snaps so hard they have a stroke or something. But that's really rare. God love that poor girl. I'm so sorry for her. She's a frequent flyer, and I feel. I'll just shake his head. I just really feel for her,
Yeah.
I don't know what has her so out of sorts. She comes in 3-4 times a week, every time, screaming she's going to die. Gets brought in on ambulance, gets brought in on walk-in, gets brought in on. Wow. I mean, she's not the only one. I mean, hell, there's some people that come more often. I have a patient who comes in like every 4 days at 7 o'clock, like and I'm not even in sometimes. It's not like they're coming specifically for me or specifically for someone. But they come in, and it's always the same thing. They think that their blood has turned into acid, and I just, God love them. Lab works as long as my arm on this person. Their blood's fine, and they're not. He'll kind of point between them, like. I thought there was something involved, but no. They just think their blood's turning into acid. They say their skin's getting itchy. I thought maybe a toxicology report's called for. They're on meth or something, but no, perfectly clean. One time they had Tylenol in their system. Good breath.
Sorry?
You really have the court's hounding you, don't you?
I've just been approached by Spring, but I'll be real. I don't get Spring that much.
As I said, Spring is the court of desires. So I think it's less that maybe it'd be a good fit for him. I can't judge that. I have a good read on you, but I don't know you well enough. It's probably a situation where they desire you. You know what I mean? They're the court of desire. And
Yeah.
you seem like a pretty well put together guy. If you've been trucking with Spring, winter's probably not your best place to go.
Yeah.
Summer, with your attitude, not gonna lie, you probably wouldn't do well in summer. My advice for you is either claim no court and develop goodwill in all of them, or either look into mine or Spring. I mean, I know you may not see what the Supreme Court has to benefit you or why you belong there, but with your desire for justice, your desire to see things done right, I can see where they'd want you. Your desire for knowledge. You have that hunger to learn in your eyes. I bet you're the type of person who reads the back of shampoo bottles when you're in the bathroom, don't you?
Yeah.
Just gotta know what's in it, huh? And then the best part is you take those and then you turn around and learn what all those ingredients are.
It's so much easier with that phone.
I know, right? The paradox of progress, man. But that's my advice. You have the makings for a Supreme Court member. I'm not going to shoot it wrong. And they want you. But the Supreme Court won't look askance at you if you don't go to them and you stay in their goodwill. I know Liam has taken a liking to you. From what I've heard, he's talked about you. He's been very complimentary. And Liam doesn't get the attention of, people don't get his attention easily. A lot of people throw themselves at him. Jamie's got some choice words for you, but Jamie's got choice words for everyone. Jamie's still angry I won't let him or them impose themselves upon me. It has nothing to do with the body. It's everything to do with the mind. I made a commitment a long time ago not to sleep with anyone crazier than myself.
Ah. Then I got one kind of big question, I guess.
Okay.
Charlemagne last night was telling me that one of their whole big things is if they party hard enough, maybe the Fae will go away.
Yes.
Summer says we need to the crap out of them. What would you say we should do about them?
They're going to come anywhere. Steel yourself for it. It's what it is at the end of the day.
All right.
Don't let them frighten you. What's the worst they can do? Kill you and end your life? Well, there you go. Stick you in something that you can't control? You can't control what other people do to you. You control your reaction. You can be afraid. Or you can be that fear. You can learn to embrace fear. Or you can learn to dispel fear. But the fact of the matter is the gentry are unpredictable. And just as I had no power to stop my sister from being taken, if they came calling, there's nothing to do. He has a twisted idea on the actual point, but it's close to that. That's kind of like what a mortal would see it as, especially one in his situation.
Okay. So,
You should probably at some point talk to the Magistrate of Nightmares. Great Costa Rican guy.
all right.
Do you have anything else you want to know? You want to ask? I mean, I know there's probably so much you want to know or ask, but
Again, I'm kind of at that point where I got a million questions, but I want to ask the best ones first.
okay.
So, let's say the day comes, they come back and they're ready.
Okay.
What then?
You hit him with all of the magic that we have acquired over time. You see, the Autumn Court, we value and collect magic, the tools of sorcery to our side.
Sorcery like what? Like the thing
Like
you
we're
used
steeped
last
so
time?
much into it, and yes, we're steeped so much into it that I'm immortal of the court and I can use magic. He chuckles.
I am curious about that, but if you don't want to tell that story, that's more than okay. I understand.
He'll shake his wrist out, and you notice that there is a obsidian bracelet on his wrist, shined to a mirror shine. When your character looks into it, you see what you fear.
Okay. Ooh, I get a little bit of narration.
You narrate it. You do that narration.
What Soren sees. Yes, he has lived in Terror of the Cops, so that is a fear that he has. But it's not his biggest fear. He's seen his keeper before. Even that is not his biggest fear. What he sees instead is he sees corpses of Malik, of Azure, of Liam, of Jamie, of all them, all the friends that he's made. And there is just a knife, a pair of bloody hands holding a knife that's just soaked in blood. And Soren sees himself, but he's a lot more feral. He's more malevolent. Basically, he fears losing himself. He fears losing the compassion that he barely managed to retain. He is afraid of indulging in that violent, angry side of him that he almost brought out last night.
You notice that Will's eyes are looking at his bracelet as well. And he'll say to your character, I would recommend, from everything I've seen of you, although your path is yours to walk through, that you embrace the Autumn Court, but keep very strong ties with the Spring Court. You need the balance. You need their light in your life. Your keeper took that from you. And I don't think my court can give it back. But I think you'd be happy in the court. And effective. And you'd flourish. But I think you need the beauty and wonder and life that the Spring Court has already brought you. You've made many friends there.
Yeah, I have.
We're not so politically divided that I've had ties to the winter at times. I've had ties to the summer and to the spring. They've waned in time. Draven is a member of the Autumn Court. Loosely, he holds a position. He is a courtier of the Winter Court. Draven is my stepson. I believe I heard him say that he met you and Malik. He liked you, actually.
Wow, okay. That's surprising.
Actually, is he really going out with Malik tonight?
My understanding is yes, unless the plans have changed.
He gets... You know what? Go ahead and make me an empathy roll.
You got it. Well, it's empathy. Let's get it. It's 2. It's going to be rolled at 1. 2.
Oh, get it, girl. You see a look of deep concern on his face. It's not a passing concern. It is a serious concern. Go on to his face. He kind of wrinkles his brow and tilts his head. Okay. Okay.
Look, I don't mean to step on your toes or anyone else's toes, but looks like something's on your mind.
Love has not been kind to Draven.
Okay.
When I say he's my stepson, that's not true. He is my stepdaughter's father.
Okay.
He was, not to give away too much of his personal information, but enough for you to understand. I feel that you can be trusted with secrets.
What you say does not leave this table.
He'll look at your character and he'll say, when Draven was 15, he fell in love with a young woman. They did as 15-year-olds do. She got pregnant. We're going to pause the story there, and we're going to follow her. She had her child. Her family was well off. Pro-life. Stuck with it. She took care of the child, graduated high school. She met a doctor at the restaurant she was waiting at. That would be me. She was beautiful, enchanting, vibrant. I fell in love with her so fast. Her daughter, like my own. She told me that she had gotten pregnant at 15. It was stupid. Some young gypsy boy and she fell in love with. And I admired her for taking responsibility of her child and doing what she had to do. And we married. It was rough at times. I was, again, a doctor coming up. I adopted her child as my own. It bears my last name. One day, I noticed something. I had noticed there was a man in Bella's window. It was on her birthday. He was looking in the window. His palm was pressed to it. Of course, obviously, I called the cops. I never said anything about it. Not much. Not to anyone but the cops, my wife. You know. 2 years later, I saw that same man in her window. I called the cops again. Nine years later, I saw him at her window. His looks hadn't changed. By this point, I thought I was insane. There was no sign of him when the cops came. And she'd have these presents. It was always the day after her birthday, and she'd always have these gifts, these things. I even tried to get rid of them once. They came back. Bracelet, Fabergé egg, a necklace, a book. These items that weren't of this world, but weren't otherworldly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One day, he came back. Her father. And for the 20 years he was gone, he had aged 10. And that was Draven. And he slept with my wife. And it destroyed our marriage. But I didn't take it out on him. I actually invited him to move in with me and my daughter to help out. Because she and I ended up having a daughter. And when I found out she'd actually been having affairs on me for quite some time. And I got kind of bitter about that. I felt sorry for Draven. And I'm in a position to take care of him. So I claimed him as my stepson. Because my daughter, his daughter, our daughter, really does love him. And I mean, he's a good person deep down. And I know he just fell prey to what he had before he left. You know? When he took my wife in our he chokes up in our marital bed. It's okay. I forgive him. I forgive her. I forgave her. She's passed on. But Draven has not had much luck in life. And he's been used a lot in his heart. When he was a child, his parents would hit him. And they'd tell him that they did it because they loved him. It's something you hear all the time. Parents say all the time to their children, I'm doing this because I love you. It's what's best for you. You know what happens when you do that to a child? They grow up believing that pain is love. And Draven has yet to find someone who has taught him that pain isn't love. That love is coming to your child's window every day for 20 years. That love is waking your daughter up every morning. Take her to school by yourself. Love is taking in a man because you realize that if it had been your sister that had come back, would you have wanted someone to turn her away? So yeah, the court's about fear. But fear and love are often very closely tied together, you know?
Yeah.
I have spoken so much in this conversation. I really hope I'm not. I'll kind of just chuckle and take a couple more bites out of his salad.
No, you're telling me everything I think I need to hear.
Look, I already care about you. I want to see good things happen for you. I want to see you get your feet under you and to learn to laugh and love again and to be. I want to see you in the spring court. I want to see you fit, damn it. I want to see you laugh in the face of fucking Gentry. But I think you're going to come to us and have fucking promise you we will accept. I have the ear of the queen. I'll see that she listens.
Well, I haven't made any decision yet. So,
Can I be honest with you?
go for it.
I think you've made a decision. I think you're just trying to rule out all possible variants of that decision before you settle on it. You strike me as that type. Maybe you didn't even realize you were doing it.
Huh. What decision do you think I've already made then?
I told you what I thought. I think you're going to join my court, and you're going to keep the ties that the spring court has made with you open, and you're going to flourish in there as well. Just as Draven has taken his ties with the winter court and flourishes in the autumn court, just as Lucas Adair is in the spring court and in the autumn court. It happens. Your friend Malik, as I understand it, from what Draven was telling me, is trying to become the emissary to the winter court. That's another way to do it as well. The only other option you have is, as I said, to join the spring court and be taken in as one of the knights of the court, the autumn court. You'd be a member of the spring, but you would also hold sway and traction in the autumn court. I think King Ferran could use someone like you by his side. In his fort. He is a man of instinct and feral, and no one has taken the time to teach him the things he needs to know to flourish as a full and productive monarch. I don't think no one is going to do that. He doesn't know how to read. He never received an elementary education. He was a feral child as a youngin', and he was taken by the wolves of Fairy, where Ace is one of them. Little Mowgli, as it were. He knows his instinct. He has no book smarts. I can see how you being in his presence might be good for him. But you could do that as somebody with court tidings anyway. If you were our court and reaching out to him. I personally think that he is one of the best monarchs for the court right now. Alysanne was difficult. Note, no one has really investigated into her death. Even though there's a pretty clear suspect. Are you waiting for me to tell you who it is?
Yeah, actually.
The
I was really...
he'll chuckle. The archive. Her lover, the archive.
Mm.
Oh.
What?
The position of the archive is open in the Spring Court.
Oh, that's something else to think about, I guess.
I just thought I'd throw it out there for you. Either way, take your time. You're in no rush. The Spring Court is going to... they're going to come after you as though they want Senpai to notice you. That's something my daughter says. That's relevant, right?
I think so. I don't know, actually. What's a senpai?
He'll just shake his head. Never mind. The point is they're going to course you to the ground. Again, desire. If it were me, I'd just rock you with nightmares until you decided to join the courts to just get rid of them. If it were me, if I were so inclined to want you so badly that I was going to ruin your every day, I wouldn't call you and leave chocolates on your doorstep and try to woo you to my side. I'd just torture you until you realized and came to your senses and got yourself over to us. You look like you have a big question. Like you really have something that you just need to crack.
I might, but I frankly don't know what it is yet. I'm sitting here trying to think of the one piece of information that would change everything, that would help me make a decision. But this life is not as simple as I imagined it was before.
When you think of the court and the people you've met who've reached out to you, all right? The court is its people. It's not the ideals of the court. It's not what they were set down on or what the original founders of the court meant for them. It's the people of the court. That's the blood and life of it. Who are your people? And if it's Farron and the Spring Court, or if it's me and the Autumn Court, or Juan and the Summer Court, or Ceres and the Winter Court? Or if all of us have become so important to you that you can't decide, and you choose to remain unbound to the courts? Remember, at the end of the day, don't look at the principles. Don't look at the abstracts. Don't look at the things that you can't touch. Look at the things you can touch and that have touched you. That's where you'll find to go. And that's where you'll end up. Where you should end up, at least. Look, I gotta get back to work, okay? People are dying. Literally.
Yeah.
Hospital can't function without me, not gonna lie.
All right.
My backup is all the way in Staten Island, so I'm gonna leave you with that, okay?
Right.
He'll lean over, he'll squeeze your shoulder. Look, don't be a stranger. Genuinely, if you want to go out, have a beer, play a game of pool, you're fucking bored. My kid goes to sleep at 8. Draven's usually home. I don't like to party out too late. Give me a call, okay?
All right.
I'll call you a friend, as you are. We'll squeeze your shoulder. He'll tie his headband back on. He'll pick up the stuff. And he'll say, hey, listen, by the way, I know you're newly returned. Are you hurting right now for cash? He'll reach into his wallet and he'll pull out about $250, and he'll put it on the table, and he'll kind of tap it, and he'll say, pay it forward, okay? And he'll head out with that. He'll get out. He's got to get back to work.
He'll actually remember to shout out, thank you.
He'll mention it, which coming out of an Autumn Court member is kind of funny, but he will leave you at that. And I think with that, we can end our scene.
Yep.
So, thank you, players, for players. Thank you, watchers, for watching. That was another scene for you guys.